Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Water for Seeds. I am Mia Durr. I am here today with Teacher Solutions. So I wanted to jump off, well, start the Teacher Solutions series, just giving parents tips and information and guidance on how they can improve their child's learning experience and also just get more insight from actual teachers. So without further ado, I just want to start by reminding everyone about our mission here at Water for Seeds. So our mission is to address literacy from the roots. So our goal is to improve both literacy and the overall quality of life of children throughout the United States. I'm based here in Georgia, so we're starting here in Georgia, but we are open to all throughout the United States. So with that being said, I want to introduce our guest, who is Miss Johnson. Miss Johnson has been a teacher in the state of Georgia for over 10 years. She has taught first, third, and fifth grade students. Most of her years of experience will have been with math and science in the third grade, and she has both experience with public school and charter schools. She has remained committed to the education and growth of children. She is here today to share her experience and give more insight to the parents, as I've previously stated. So I'd just like to welcome Miss Johnson. Welcome to Water for Seeds today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm glad you're here. So let's just jump right in. So I have my questions over here, sorry. So if you can just tell the viewers a little bit about your background and a little bit more information as I mean, I stayed at the grade level, but you can go ahead and just let us know more about your background.
Okay, yes, I am been teaching again for over 10 years. I currently teach in Atlanta, Georgia, so in the city of Atlanta, where we have some of the highest at-risk youth and lots of Title I schools, meaning that our kids are either um, poverty level or come from many single family homes or low income homes. So that's where most of my demographics are. I'm currently working with said demographic, so low income students where most of the lunch is free or reduced, with parents who also need a lot of support due to being full-time workers.
Okay, awesome, awesome. So you are in the focus group right now. So Water for Seeds is focusing on that kindergarten through fifth grade for year one. We do eventually plan to expand to middle and high school, but for right now, we're really trying to focus on that year one group. Excuse me, sorry about that. So with that being said, we want to jump into the next one. I wanted to get into the parent-teacher connection. So I wanted to ask you, what do you think is a major disconnect between parents and teachers that may be inhibiting children's, ability to learn?
Okay, yes. With the multiple different types of settings I've worked in, what I will say is it doesn't matter whether the schools are public, charter, or if they're high income, low income. The disconnect I'm seeing right now is the ever-changing things that are external factors. So like the rise in the economy, the limited ability for housing, transportation, and things like that. Those affect how effective teachers can communicate with parents, because communication is like top priority, because you want to communicate what your scholars are learning, what they're being exposed to, what are their expectations. And since K-5 or like it's like like you're saying in Water for Seeds, these are the roots. This is where they get all of their foundational skills. So it's very important for us to be able to communicate openly with our parents, because again, this is the basis. And once we kind of like go off track from lots of the basic skills and basic needs of our scholars, it tends to make their educational journey a lot more difficult. And then parents tend to pull back even more because then they feel lost. So without having access to our parents more often, because they're working to try to keep up with the economic like build of things getting more expensive, they're having to work more. So meaning that they're outside of direct contact with the teacher because of work schedules, or parents and children being split between multiple households and things like that. Those directly affect how we can do it. But if I had to say what the major inhibiting disconnect, I would say communication.
Okay, understood. And that seems to be a common theme. When I was doing a lot of research for Water for Seeds, I was doing a lot of research on YouTube and on TikTok and teachers of TikTok. So that seems to be a common theme. And that's why I wanted to start Water for Seeds, so we can start to build a bridge between the teachers and the parents, so we can just figure out ways to improve that communication disconnect, so to speak. So let's go into um, I guess, what do you think would benefit parents the most? Like, what do you think are some things that they can either incorporate? Even I know that you mentioned the fact that many of them are, they're working, so they're trying to keep up with with their bills. What do you think they can do to um, help benefit the growth and development of their children? Like, what little things, so to speak, do you think they could do to help the children? Help their
Yeah,
children?
so I think like this platform will give them help because I know a lot of technology is being incorporated in the homes now. So them being able to access things outside of having to always call the teacher or always have to call the school, I think would be a great first step. So many resources, like providing lots of resources that they have access to and they're able to understand at a home level so they can feel empowered to teach and continue to help build those skills outside of a classroom. I think giving them access to things that are accessible, but also have to be easily understood. Because sometimes we give parents much information. They're like, I have no clue where to start. I don't know what this is. I don't even know how you're exposing the kids this in class. So then I don't want to, quote unquote, mess them up at home if I teach them a
Mhm.
different way. So I think providing access to a plethora of resources, whether it's technology based, like paper based, like some type of like resource will be very helpful. And then giving them tips like, hey, I know your child has a tablet or a phone, giving them like educational apps
Okay.
that can further help them and not just on YouTube or things like that. And if it is YouTube, creating platforms like this where they have YouTube content creators that are geared towards helping them at home when they, like you said, are not able to physically be there, but putting things in place. But I think resources will be a very, very big help because when we empower parents, let them know that the teacher is not the knower of all knowledge, that we're
Right.
empowering you to still be able, it makes parents feel more confident and they don't feel so distraught. Like, I don't know what to do with my child. If we provide resources for them, they can also feel empowered to know, hey, I can also do this too. I don't have to just depend on the education system or my child's teacher to get my kid to know more or to fix things that they feel like are they're lacking, skills they're lacking.
Okay, that's a great tip. And like you had mentioned, we are we're still focusing on that providing those literacy guides and resources. I've been building like a library of resources. But right now I'm operating as a one man, one woman show. So um it's been taking me a minute, but I am definitely in that direction in alignment with what you're speaking of, which is providing the resources that will help parents so that they can help the children at home. So that's great. Um, so I'm going to jump into the American education system. So a lot of my research was into American education system, some of the deficiencies, some of the uh, um, major errors, so to speak, that I seen in my research. So I just wanted to ask you as a teacher, based on your experience, particularly with the No Child Left Behind Act, if many of you are not aware, the No Child Left Behind Act was enacted by our former president, George Bush, back in 2001, and the goal was to improve literacy. However, I think that based on my research, it was hyper aggressive. Like the way that the approach that they took was like they were trying to correct an issue in terms of literacy, but they overcorrected. And to me it left a lot of holes, and it did not um take in consideration the learning needs and the learning the ways that children learn. So that was one of the things that I saw. So I wanted to, that's why I built Water for Seeds in the first place, because I'm like, what can we do to supplement what is not being taken care of in school? Like what is not being understood on the child's level. Like on their level, I can't learn this because I'm stressed, or I can't learn this because I'm dealing with this issue. I can't learn this. So I know that the initial um intention of this No Child Left Behind Act was to improve literacy, so they said. So I wanted to ask you, um, based on your experience, how has it affected the education system? Like I know that you got in a little bit later, far after 2001, obviously, but have you seen anything in terms of its effects on literacy throughout the school system?
Yes, absolutely. I started teaching in 2013. So yes, way after, but I also, like you said, I still saw the effects. I saw initially the act, I think it had good potential. I think that they like had super high standards, super high expectations. But I think what they failed to do was go into more than one type of school, more than one type of demographic, and actually see like the true issues that were happening in school. And I feel like they would have got a true picture, a more broader picture instead of just like specific areas they went, they would have been able to actually be successful in what they wanted to do. Like you said, it was literacy. Right now, currently, literacy is still, and if I must say, has gotten even further behind for our students
Mhm,
because they were struggling readers.
mhm,
Then we had a pandemic, which we're still in, which we moved even further away from physical like literacy, physical reading materials, things where things were not so shorthand. We moved into a very digital age.
mhm,
So now even writing, I've noticed students write in text conversations.
mhm,
So our spelling is lacking, our ability to comprehend things that require us to critically think, and things are not always just right in front of us, we're still lacking. So what I will say, No Child Left Behind right now, it's not doing what it set out to do because literacy has essentially gotten worse since the
mhm,
act was put in place. Since I've been teaching, we have went through so many different literacy programs to try to improve literacy. And it's like we're changing programs so quickly that we're not seeing and tracking if the programs we get actually work. Because as soon as we don't see them work, the government or the state or the school-based leaders are like, oh, we got to change it. We got to keep up with the times. We got to do this. So I think that it's not helping us because we're not finding something. We're not honing in on that and making it better
mhm,
and like working through the program. We constantly are changing what the expectation is. We're constantly putting the stress on, I need everyone to be performing on this state level. I need everyone to be able to pass these state tests. So the pressure on teachers is not necessarily fixing and filling in those gaps. We're just literally trying to keep up with the ever changing, the bar that they keep rising or the tests they
mhm,
keep changing because we're just playing a game of catch up, but we're not really fixing
mhm,
what the true root is. And literacy has to be fixed from the most basic level of letter identification. Like I teach third grade now, and I have third graders that can't even recognize letters. They can't put letters to sounds. And
mhm.
at 8 and 9 years old, it's like, wow,
Yeah,
you're 8 and 9, the
yeah,
gap is going to continue to get bigger, but yet the state and the government is just continuing to make the test the main priority. They got to pass this test. They have to
yeah,
meet these standards, but not realizing that ignoring the most basic needs of letter identification leads them to reading simple sentences, which
mhm.
leads them to reading paragraphs, which leads them to become critical thinkers. So I don't think we are doing any justice, and I don't think No Child Left Behind has filled any gaps with that. If anything, they've made them larger.
Wow. Yeah, and it's unfortunate. And not to extend this conversation too far, but I wanted to add on to Common Core. I mean, Common Core also was enacted right behind the No Child Left Behind Act. I believe it was around 2009, and that was to say, okay, by the end of first grade, your child needs to know this. If for those viewers who are watching, you can check our original um world premiere video where we discussed a lot of the issues that we saw. And if you want to speak on Common Core briefly, if in tandem with No Child Left Behind Act, do you believe that Common Core is effective? And sorry, before I go into that, Common Core, again, the the goal was to improve literacy, but however, it was to set a standard throughout the United States. Now, not all 50 states have enacted or have accepted Common Core, and some of them are now rejecting it. But the goal was to say that by first grade, you should know this in reading, writing, math. By the end of second grade, you should know this, this, and that. So I just wanted to ask you, how has Common Core helped? Like, just what is your experience with Common Core?
I will say, Common Core, I have pros and cons. I do see it working a little better
Okay.
than the No Child Left Behind Act, only because it gave us a more even platform across all the states that adopted it. So essentially, they wanted to create a standard where no matter where your kid went, if they went to a state that had Common Core standards, they will be able to have an even playing field, and it would make education, specifically math and reading, like you said,
Mhm.
kind of like equitable across many places. So it's like, you come from certain states and you come and you're like, wait, I'm either miles behind or I'm like
Mhm.
light years ahead. So I did
Mhm.
like the fact that Common Core tries to give us like a base level of equitable education. So no matter where your child went, and if you weren't being compared to kids in other states who were learning things that were vastly different from you. So I do appreciate the fact that we're able to look from here to California and see, oh, this is how my child is performing at a national level. I
Mhm.
also like that it gave them readiness for college. Though
Okay.
many of our students may choose different paths, I do like the fact that we were encouraging college and career readiness. Like, if you wanted to go to a college outside of Georgia, you were prepared to go compete
Mhm.
with other kids because Common Core made it so everything was equitable and aligned. I do enjoy that.
Okay,
I will
good.
say that sometimes Common Core had its little, things, because as a Southern teacher in Georgia, some of the things that are very specific to Southern states, they kind of got rid of them in classrooms where we had like Georgia history classes, or we had like geography specific to Georgia, which would give kids like very much knowledge on where they live, what type of landforms we have, what type
Mhm.
of soil, rocks, what type of greenery, like the different regions that we have here in our state, the history of our state. I did enjoy that. But when we kind of moved into Common Core, those things kind of got phased out because
Mm.
you didn't really need to know much about Georgia,
Mm.
if you were moving
Okay.
to California or like New York.
Mm.
So I will say some of those things I do see now, like kids struggle with the continent versus the state versus the city versus
Okay.
the town, so like I see the effects on making things so neutral that
Mhm.
some things kind of got lost in that. But I will say, as far as like an act that the government chose to use to increase student math and language, I will say I do enjoy Common Core to a certain extent.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, we still use that. And right now, currently, Georgia has changed their standards a little bit and adopted more things specific for Georgia. So I will say Georgia, for right now, being a current teacher teaching it, I can say that I like how they're bridging the gap between Common Core and using specific Georgia standards for us. So we're trying to now, because we changed our math standards last year. So this is my first year working with new math standards. And I enjoyed it. And I can see how they are trying to like mesh both of them together. I do enjoy that.
Okay, good. Good. All right, well, thank you for that insight. It's good to hear from teachers directly and how a lot of these new acts and these bills have been passed and how it's affecting in real life. So thank you for that insight. Um, so I wanted to we're nearing the end. So I'm going to jump to um do you have a I would say can you I would say let's for the sake of time, summarize the top 3 things that parents can do, like solutions. I'm gonna jump in straight into solutions. What 3 solutions do you think that parents can do at home to help with literacy?
Absolutely. I want them to know that their child's teachers or their child's school stakeholders, we are here to help. Like teachers kind of get a negative thing, like, oh, this teacher's always calling me for this. They're always telling me that I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do. They always want me to do this and do that. I just want them to know that we are trying to be partners with them in their child's education. And I want the mindset of parents to change, to let them know that we are here to help. So for a solution, if your child's teacher is reaching out, like be open to conversations. Like I said, communication, I think, will be our number one solution. Communicating with your child's teacher, like, hey, checking in, like it's okay. Hey, how are they doing this semester? Like, let's like be proactive and not reactive. Let's not wait till we get that failing grade and now we want to, what's going on? So I would say could be communication. If a school sent home a flyer or a newsletter, please read, like be aware of what's going on at your child's school, in your child's classroom. Second step, if if the school offers tutoring or extra help, take advantage of that. Those are free programs that the state or the school is like going out of their way to find funding for, and it's free. You don't have to take your child anywhere. They can stay right after school and still get that extended learning, and it's helping them. So I would say take advantage of free anything in their area, free tutoring opportunities to help bridge those gaps. Lastly, read with your child like every night, at least 30 minutes. Like it can be a news article, it can be a grocery store clipping, like get the children reading. And I say this as a math teacher, and like my focus is numbers. But when I say the translation between literacy across all subjects will truly improve, I have to encourage reading. And as a math teacher right now, I tell my kids, read, read, read. So reading nightly, just getting your kid to, while you're sitting down cooking dinner, let them pull a chair up in the kitchen and read a story or read to you their homework. Ask them questions like, hey, what do you understand about what you just read? Because you want to get them thinking critically. So if I have to end with 3 solutions, I would say constant communication and being aware of what's going on in your child's school and classroom, taking advantage of tutoring opportunities or any type of free program that enriches a student's brain. And lastly, read. Like if anything, I would say reading has to come first. Like reading nightly will help. Like 30 minutes off a tablet to read a book will truly help improve literacy and education across the board.
Awesome. So thank you so much for saying that, because it's so funny that like it's really empowering to hear you say that, because it's exactly why we started Water for Seeds, was to just constantly encourage the parents, like you have the power to improve literacy at home. It's so easy. And I know it sounds difficult because you have all these things on your plate. However, all it takes is a little bit of time. Like you said, that 30 minutes, even if you chop it up, let's do 10 minutes right here. Let's do 10 minutes right here. Let's do, like, squeeze it in, whatever you can do to get those children reading. So I just want to thank you again, Ms. Johnson, for joining us today. Thank you for your insights. And I want to thank the audience. Thank you for joining us. We will post some resources. So after this video, I will be posting some resources that are in the city of Atlanta in particular. So I'm going to try to do that. So whoever I talk to, whatever city I'm talking to, I'll try to post the resources for that city, especially those that are free. So just stay tuned as we continue to talk to more teachers. We continue to build more solutions and start to bridge the gap, start to improve that parent-child connection, improve the parent-teacher connection, so that we are building a circle, a team around the child, so that they can learn better and they'll feel more supported as they're growing and learning and developing. So any parting words, Ms. Johnson, excuse me, before we go?
No, I think this is amazing. And I think that more voices that are being heard will truly, again, I think that the whole game of this is to build that circle. And I feel like empowering parents in turn empowers teachers and it empowers students. And when we feel like we're one working network, at the end of the day, those kids, those seeds that we're planting, they're going to grow and eventually they're going to be the leaders of this world. So we definitely have to continue to pour into them. And thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. All right. Well, thank you all for joining in today for Teacher Solutions. We will try to do this. Tell a friend to like, share, and subscribe. If you are a teacher or you know a teacher, definitely have them contact me at the contact information on the YouTube channel so that we can connect and hear more voices from more teachers and help the children learn and grow. So I thank you so much for your time today, and we'll see you again next time at Water for Seeds. Bye.